Imagine this. It's 2:45 in the morning. You're sound asleep in your stateroom aboard the luxury liner, the Morro Castle, sailing on its final night from Havana to New York. Suddenly, you wake to the sound of frantic footsteps pounding down the corridor and the unmistakable smell of smoke seeping under your door. By dawn, 134 lives will be lost, and this magnificent ship will be reduced to a smoldering ruin. But that is only the beginning of the story.
All right.
All right. So, welcome back to Fantastic Footnotes. I'm Tina.
And I'm Chris, and I'm surprised I'm not the one struggling with the whole English language thing.
I know. So, we tried to record this podcast last night because we were in Omaha for a whiskey festival for your YouTube channel.
Uh-huh.
But I had some issues with my neck, and it just wasn't happening. But you definitely partook in whiskey today, so I'm surprised. I did not, really. So I'm surprised, that I'm speaking so poorly. You are not.
I'm just really not saying anything at this point because, whiskey channel. Yeah.
So if you like whiskey, we'll put a link or something. It's Whiskey Outpost on YouTube. So if you're interested in that, we'll put a link and you can see more of my fabulous husband.
Yay, me.
Otherwise, let's talk about some history stuff.
All right.
So we're going to talk about the shipwreck, the Morro Castle today. It sounds morbid, but I love shipwrecks. It's kind of my jam.
Yeah, it's true.
I work at a shipwreck museum, so it makes sense. The sources that I used, I didn't use too many internet sources this time. I have 2 books, and I had 2 episodes of podcasts. So one of the books I bought on Kindle, so I can't show it to you. It's called Inferno at Sea, Stories of Death and Survival Aboard the Morro Castle. The Morro Castle. And it was by Gretchen, Coyle, and Deborah C. Whitcraft. Now, I had heard about this book because of the podcast I had listened to. So if you like shipwrecks, definitely check out the podcast Shipwrecks and SeaDogs. And they did 2 episodes on the Morro Castle. They did one that was just basically the story of what happened. And then they did another one where they interviewed one of the ladies that wrote that book. So then I had to go get the book, of course.
Right, makes sense.
The other book I used is this one. It's called When the Dancing Stopped, The Real Story of the Morro Castle Disaster and Its Deadly Wake. This one is by Brian Hicks. The Morro Castle was a ship. It was running, basically, every once in a while we go other places, but most of the time it was running between Havana, Cuba, and New York City.
And when was that?
1934 is when it crashed.
Okay.
Wrecked. It didn't really crash.
It blowed up?
No.
It burned
down.
Okay.
It burned down. So it burned down in 1934. So interestingly, this book, When the Dancing Stopped book, it talked a little bit about something called the Jones-White Act, which is an act that Congress put together after World War I. So during World War I, we lost a lot of ships. They were sunk. And so Congress was like, we need to kind of rebuild our fleet, but not necessarily put all the money into it. So what they did is they offered shipping company loans to build ships. So you could build a cruise ship or you could build a cargo ship. But the thing was, you had to build your ship to specifications that allowed for a quick conversion to a warship.
Okay.
So they might look a little weird because you had to be able to quickly convert them to a warship, but in return, you could get a loan from the government. And in addition to that, especially with the Morro Castle, they wanted to make sure you didn't default on your loan. So the government then set up the Morro Castle as a mail ship, and it took mail between Cuba and New York, so it had a guaranteed income. So it was a pretty sweet deal if you were a ship owner.
Okay.
Yeah, so the Morro Castle and its sister ship, the Oriente, were the first 2 that were built with this Jones Act. But eventually the Ward Lines, which owned these two ships, got $6.8 million.
Pretty good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And in total, in 2 years, the government loaned over $107 million
Okay.
to build ships. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Also, ships like this were popular during Prohibition, which was just a little before this time,
Mm-hmm.
because this actually apparently is the origin of the booze cruise.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, because you get 3 miles out in the ocean, you're in international waters, and nobody can say nothing if you're drinking.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
So did they do that on the Morro Castle then?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
They did. Yeah, and by 1934, when it ultimately met its demise, Prohibition was over, and we were in the Depression.
Mm.
And so, even though we were in the Depression, like, they didn't usually fill the ship, but the prices were low enough that even, like, an average type person could save and do, like, a special trip, like a honeymoon or something. So it wasn't completely out of reach.
So like a honeymoon to Havana.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you'd get on the ship at New York, or, vice versa, you could get on at Havana. But you get on the ship at New York, sail down to Havana. The ship, even back then, had excursions. And here's the thing.
Yeah.
The Cuban Revolution was happening at this time. And so there was one case where, I want to say, where the ship was being shot at by revolutionaries. And they got, like, all the passengers inside. And they were like, oh, it's raining or something. Like, I can't remember the story they made up. But they tried to hide it from the passengers. And then when the passengers did do excursions, you could only do the excursions approved by the ship, because they'd take you to, like, certain streets, certain restaurants, so that you didn't see the revolution happening, like, the next block over. So with that, the Morro Castle, there's been lots of rumors about not only this ship, but other ships at the time kind of doing the same thing. That they, whether under contract from the government or not, just privately, were running guns to Cuba.
Interesting.
Running drugs and stowaways from Cuba. Hiding people that were running from the revolution.
Interesting.
Yeah, so there's some thought that perhaps the death toll of 134 may not be 100% correct, because that does not account for stowaways.
Jeez,
if people didn't know they were on the boat.
So it's probably more.
It might have been more.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. So that's the craziness that our story takes place in.
Okay, got it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, but these were very popular to go, and then you'd go to Havana for like a day, get back on, and go back up to New York. It was
kind of like a modern day cruise then.
Yeah, it was like a 3 or 4 day cruise, and you'd just go have fun. They had usually dances. The Morro Castle was famous. I can't remember what they called it, but they basically used the fire hoses to flood the deck and kind of make a giant, like, not like a slip and slide or a pool, but it was just giant, like, water park on the deck with the fire hoses. So.
Okay, interesting.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so our disaster begins in September of 1934. So the disaster occurred and everything. Yeah.
Okay.
It actually happened September 8th, 1934.
Okay.
Like, wee hours of the morning.
Okay.
Okay, so little background. Captain Wilmot was the captain of the Morro Castle. He had a lot of experience. He'd been on the sea for like 30 years. There had been some issues with the crew, not only on this ship, but on some other ships. Because it was the Depression, right?
Right.
So you needed a job, right?
Yep.
You were grateful for your job, right?
Sure.
Yeah. But that kind of meant that it gave the employers an opportunity to take advantage of you.
Interesting. Okay.
Right? Like, you didn't make a lot of money, but they didn't pay you more because they knew you couldn't really go anywhere else.
Right. Okay.
So there was discontent among the crew. There was pretty high turnover. There just general irritation, but even talk of, like,
mutiny. Okay.
Yeah. And the thought is that some of the crew actually supplemented their income by running drugs and stowaways.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. But on the 27th, on one of the previous voyages, on August 27th, a fire broke out in the cargo compartment of the Morro Castle.
Okay.
And the captain actually wrote a letter to a friend saying he suspected that it was started on purpose.
Interesting.
So he was very suspicious of the crew. So one of the radio operators, George Alanya, had actually kind of caused some trouble. He was kind of known as a pot stirrer, I guess.
Never do well, or what?
Yeah. And he was
he a ragamuffin?
Not a ragamuffin, but he was one that was very vocal about
the conditions.
Okay. And the pay. Yeah. And like, you need to do better kind of thing. And one of the rumors is that when they got back to port after this voyage, that he was going to be fired. Okay, so there's all sorts of drama going on with the crew. If you want to know more about that, definitely read this book, When the Dancing Stopped. We're not going to go super into it because kind of overview, and there's a lot more crazy things to happen. Okay, so they're on their way back to New York City. Yep.
And the captain wasn't feeling well?
No, the captain was not feeling well.
I cheated, looked at your notes.
You looked at my notes, you stinker.
Yep.
So, no, the captain was not feeling well. And he'd been a little bit depressed because of all this stuff going on. But on August 25th, he actually had some chest pains and collapsed. Now, they treated him
with
baking soda and peppermint, and made him drink 4 glasses of ice water quickly because that supposedly helped.
It shocked the heart into working again?
I guess so.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he had not been feeling great.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was the last night of the cruise. September 8th was supposed to be the last night of the cruise. So they were supposed to have a big party, like a bon voyage party. I guess it would be the opposite of bon voyage. It'd be like
homecoming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was supposed to be the big party, the last night of the ship. You know, tradition on a ship is to dine at the captain's table if you're special.
Right.
And Captain Wilmot was usually very friendly, and he had lots of stories, and people loved dining with him. But on that night, he took dinner alone, which was kind of weird.
Right.
He only ate fruit. He called for a doctor later because he thought he was having another attack. And at about 7:30 p.m. on, it would have been September 7th, the second in command, his name was William Worms, he went looking for the captain and found him dead in the bathroom.
Yikes.
Yes. So, the doctor had a chance, like the doctor on board had a chance to examine the body, declared it a heart attack brought on by acute indigestion.
Which is a thing.
Apparently, it was a thing.
Okay.
Now, keep that in your brain.
Okay, because foul play is about to be suspected, right?
Yes. So, one of the thoughts is that perhaps he was poisoned and killed. And that the fire that was probably set, I mean, you're going to come to your own conclusions, but the fire was meant to cover up his death.
Why did they want to kill the captain, though, right? If he was a likable guy, he's not the one that's paying them, right? The company is issuing pay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think figurehead kind of
misplaced aggression.
You know,
okay,
yeah. I mean, I think it was a thing.
Yeah.
Now, so you're on your last night of your cruise. Yeah. Captain's dead.
Okay, but I probably don't know that.
Well, you do, because everyone's waiting for this farewell party to start. And the second in command says, out of respect for the captain, we're not doing the farewell party.
Okay.
Like, the bars stayed open, but we're not doing the party. Go back to your rooms, hang out in the bar, whatever, but we're not doing a party. Okay. So you know the captain is dead. Okay. Add to this.
Yes.
That on your tail, you've got a hurricane. And you're headed into a nor'easter. Your ship is in between 2 gigantic storms.
That's a problem.
It is a problem. Okay, so all this is going on. The second in command takes, well, the second in command takes the captain's chair. But technically, he wasn't the highest ranking person on board at this time. But he sent the telegram back to land that said, basically, Captain died, yada yada, and he signed it Captain Warms. So
he said he was the first officer, though.
Yeah, but there was a man, I think, in the engineer room that technically was higher ranking. But I don't think it was a big deal. The right. Engineer guy kind of stepped back and was like, yeah, whatever.
Right.
But William Warms was dealing with the death of the captain and had already not slept, and now is dealing with the fact that he is now captain and they're in between two storms.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So now it's 2:45 a.m. on September 8th.
The day.
Okay. And a passenger warned one of the crew that he smelled smoke. The crewman was like, well, we're very close to the smoking gallery.
Okay.
But I'll go check it out anyway.
Okay.
And when he went to check it out, he found there was a room called the writing room, and there was a locker in it that held supplies that passengers did not have access to. So that locker was filled with pens, paper, and then some cleaning supplies that were fairly flammable.
Okay.
Okay. And when he opened the locker, he found the fire. But the weird thing is a couple people said they noticed that the flames were blue and white, which is generally the flames you see with a chemical fire.
Okay.
Okay, so...
But cleaning supplies, right?
Cleaning supplies. Okay. But it started in the writing room, and that was close to the elevators and the stairs, which meant that very quickly escape routes and lifeboats were blocked. Like within 20 minutes of the fire starting, it was spreading up and down to decks, because the other part of this is it's windy because you're between two storms.
Right.
And the ship had, it was, quote, air conditioning, but basically...
Vents.
It was vents behind the wood paneling that allowed the sea air to come through and cool the ship.
Interesting.
Which is just a real great way for fire to spread. So the fire spread everywhere. And
there weren't multiple sets of stairs. Because I was thinking about the one time we took a cruise, there was at least three.
In the back.
And in the middle.
And in the middle, yeah. I never saw an actual blueprint of the boat, but from the way
it sounded like there wasn't?
Yeah, okay. It was like the elevators and the stairs were pretty well blocked very quickly. Now, add to this the fact that the captain wanted his boat to look beautiful.
As captains do.
And the crew had been ordered multiple times, like over and over and over. It was routine to re-lacquer the wood.
Oh, jeez.
And to repaint the deck from front to back.
Oh, no.
With oil-based paint.
Yep.
So the fire just...
Yeah.
Ballooned. Okay? Okay. In addition, the writing room was directly under something called the Lyle gun. Do you know what a Lyle gun is?
I'm guessing it would be a deck-mounted swivel cannon or swivel gun that would probably use to shoot at like whales or something large.
Oh, not shoot.
Okay.
Not whales.
Okay.
But more like
Germans?
To send a line.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right. Got it.
And so the fire starts right under the Lyle gun, which is full of gunpowder.
Right.
And so...
I would like to clarify that I do not have anything against Germans. I, in fact, married a German. Yeah, that's her. But I was thinking at the time, we're post-World War II, and I just assumed that tensions were probably still not, like, super low. Anyway. Go ahead.
It was post-World War I.
What did I say?
Pre-World War II.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, just clarifying.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the gunpowder in the Lyle gun explodes. And to add insult to injury, it blew out all the portholes. Which does what, honey?
Well, depending on where the portholes were, it either brings in more air, therefore fanning the flames. Okay.
Yep, it brought in more oxygen.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they weren't below the waterline.
Right, no.
Okay.
Nope.
Yep, just air.
Just this fire is just raging out of control. Okay?
That's fun.
And so again, if you read the book, it goes into more detail about like every minute when things happened and who was doing what on the ship. But we're just not going to get that detailed. Okay.
Okay.
So then the ship's steering goes out.
Because
fire.
Okay.
And things are breaking.
Like it cut the line between.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
And which means that you can't steer the boat to account for the wind that is now blowing the fire everywhere.
That seemed like a problem with a nor'easter and a...
Now, we mentioned one of the radio operators already.
Yeah.
But one of the other radio operators was named George White
That's
Rogers.
not confusing. Okay.
Right? Yeah. Well, that's why I couldn't remember his name at first, because I'm like, well, I thought it was George, but the other one was George. Yeah. So George White Rogers was actually manning the radio at the time. Now, he refused...
This is post-Titanic, so people were still keeping they'd started to keep their nope, not radars. I keep want to say radar. Radios on at night, because Titanic's hit icebergs.
Yes.
Okay, anyway.
Okay. Yeah. So he refuses to send an SOS without direct orders from the captain. But Captain Worms, who is taking over, by all accounts, is not only exhausted, but completely disassociating from everything. He's like dealing with the storms, and he's like, yeah, okay, there's a fire, great. And like, then started walking around the bridge like mumbling. So he's not getting a direct order. He keeps sending George Alanya back and forth to the bridge. He's like, I can't send an SOS without an order. Go get an order. And finally, he sends the order.
The captain does, or George Alanya?
The captain says it's okay.
Okay.
George White Rogers sends an order. And almost immediately after he sends the order, finally, the battery from the radio explodes because of the heat. So at this point, they're not even sure
that the message
got out.
Okay. This seems bad.
Yes. Also, crews were not trained on how to use the firefighting equipment. There were like 42 hydrants on board that they could use to put out the fire. But what the crew didn't know, because Captain Wilmot did not want to inconvenience the guests, so he didn't have the crew do any drills, nor did he have any of the guests do any lifeboat drills at all. Nor did the crew. So the crew sees this huge fire spreading, and instantly everyone grabs a fire hose. The fire hose system is designed to only work with a maximum of 6 hydrants at a time, so you can keep the water pressure up. They opened all 42 of those hydrants, and
couldn't figure out whether it did.
And there was nothing.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is happening. One of the hydrants was actually capped, because it had leaked and someone slipped on it on a previous voyage. And Captain Wilmot was like, whoa, we can't have people falling.
Yeah, no, that's terrible.
Yeah.
So we can have beach sea parties where we flood the deck, but God forbid we train them how to use the hose in case... Okay.
Yeah, and nobody knew how to uncap it. So it was just dead.
That seems bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so finally, Worms kind of comes to his senses, the captain, the acting captain, and orders the ship...
He warmed up to his role.
He orders the ship to point towards shore, which the steering is out at this point, but he can use the 2 propellers to kind of, do the thing. And then the cruise director kind of gets involved, starts to herd people to the stern of the ship.
I'm having a really terrible episode of the Love Boat flashbacks, like the cruise director or something.
Well, I've listened to enough podcasts about shipwrecks.
Yeah.
And especially in modern shipwrecks, it seems like the cruise directors are the ones that end up like being the bravest people and like getting everyone where they need to be.
They're like, screw you, I've dealt with drunk people at 3 a.m, so I can definitely handle this shipwreck.
Well, but plus I think that they're one of those crew members that feels
a responsibility to the crew.
A responsibility to the guests. They have some of those personal relationships with the guests because they're constantly...
Okay, makes sense, yeah.
So the cruise director gets everybody to the stern, thinking that maybe they could get to some of those lifeboats. Tries to, like, they were telling people to, like, wake all the guests, and, like, even the cooks and the kitchen crew was running through The hallways banging on pots and pans, trying to wake people up.
Got it.
Telling them to grab their life vests. It's just chaos.
Okay.
Okay? They had enough lifeboats on board to get everyone off.
But,
a couple things. And this is a little bit of a controversy. So, some people present it as the crew just wanted to save themselves. And, like, one of the lifeboats left with, I think, like, 2 people on it. One of them had, like, 8 people on it, and one of those 8, only one of those 8 was a passenger. I've got let me look at the statistics. Let's see. Statistic-wise, it says there were only 6 passengers in the first 5 lifeboats, but 100 crew.
oh boy.
There were nearly 200 empty seats in the first 6 that were launched, enough to save everyone who died. The death rate was over 30% for passengers and less than 18% for crew. Now, some people think that that's because the crew just wanted to save themselves. But part of it was also, if everyone was at the stern, they couldn't get to the lifeboats.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
So part of it was logistics, too.
And if they're trapped because of the flames, they probably can't get to the lifeboat either, right?
Right.
Okay.
Also, some of the lifeboats wouldn't drop because they didn't do lifeboat crews or lifeboat drills. They didn't know this, that when they were constantly painting and repainting the ship,
no.
they painted over all the davits and they were all stuck. They couldn't get them to pop out and unwind.
So it seems like a lot of shipwrecks start and end with a captain who's a bit of a bonehead.
Well, that, but also it's like, I feel like a lot of it was that, like a lot of shipwrecks that you read about, it wasn't just one thing, right? Like, it's a whole bunch of things that compile and make a huge disaster.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. So now, the ship is burning.
Mm-hmm.
It is so hot that their soles of their shoes are melting to the deck.
Yikes.
Yeah, because that oil-based paint,
right? I was
it's
wondering if that's what it was,
fire. It's paint, and then there's steel
but
underneath.
not a good kind of fire. It's not like fire. It's like fire. Yeah.
So all these people are on the stern of the boat, and people are, of course, panicking.
Where's the stern?
You don't know where the stern is?
Honey, I'm the voice of the people, and some people probably don't know the difference between port and starboard and the bow and the stern.
Okay, truth. Okay, the stern is the back of the boat. Okay, so they're all at the back of the boat. And they have life vests.
Okay.
Hey, but guess what? We haven't done any drills.
Yeah, so we don't know how to put them on.
Well, they know how to put them on. But guess what?
They're all locked or painted over?
No. They don't know that when you put your life vest on, you're either supposed to jump off of the ship and go headfirst into the water, or hold your life vest, because life vests want to float. Your body does not necessarily want to float. So many people hit the water, their life vest popped up, and their necks broke. So, bully on them. And they're all at the stern of the boat.
This is why we go to all-inclusives instead of cruises, I think. Okay, anyway, keep going.
They're all at the stern of the boat, and they're all panicking. Nobody knows what to do. And somebody just starts yelling, jump.
Nice.
Yeah. You know what else is at the stern of the boat?
The propellers.
The propellers.
This is why you go to the front and you say, I'm the king of the world, and you jump off the side. And,
so it was just terrible. It was just awful. Okay.
Yeah.
So all of these things are happening. Finally, some other boats come to help. One Coast Guard boat was called the City of Savannah. There was a boat called the Andrea Lukenbach, and another boat called the Monarch of Bermuda. They all came and started helping launching their boats. There's some controversy about the Coast Guard because they didn't show up till later. And a lot of people say that they didn't want to send their ship out in the storm. So, I don't know. The Coast Guard in the Inferno at Sea book kind of released their own timeline of events.
Got it.
But it's thought that that was kind of made to make them look better. But eventually the Coast Guard did show up. Now, I have to mention that there was a boat called the Paramount. It was a private fishing boat. They went out in that storm and they saved over 67 people. They are credited with saving a ton of people.
That's impressive.
Yeah. And that family apparently is still in fishing and has been known to rescue people from other wrecks. And so shout out to the crew of the Paramount.
Also started a TV network.
So eventually the Tampa, which is a Coast Guard ship, gets there and starts to try and tow the Morro Castle to shore.
Even though it's still on fire.
Yeah, this thing burned for days.
So they didn't have, like the Coast Guard ship couldn't point their hose at the Morro Castle. And I
think the fire was too hot. I mean, because by this point, you're in a hurricane, it's raining too.
Oh okay.
Well, and
that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, even when it gets beached finally, they keep trying to put the fire out for days, and they still can't get the fire out.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So the Tampa hooks up to the Morro Castle and is going to pull it back to shore. Eventually, the line snaps. Apparently, the line got hot and then snapped.
Not surprised.
And then when it snapped, it got all tangled up in the Tampa's propellers. So that was a whole situation as well.
Because the Tampa never did any rope drills.
And weirdly enough, there was a military ship out there that offered to pull the Morro Castle.
Yeah.
But the Coast Guard was like, no, because we're going to have to go into shallow waters. And if we wreck this big military ship, we're going to be in trouble.
Right.
Any idea? You want to guess what ship it was that was out there patrolling on that side? You do not associate it with the Atlantic at all.
The Missouri?
Nope.
A military ship that I would know the name of.
Oh, you know the name.
Arizona?
It was the Arizona.
Oh my gosh, okay.
It was the Arizona was out there, offered to pull the Morro Castle.
Okay, so what happens if they would have done that? Just imagine for a minute. They pull the Morro Castle, the rope burns, they don't go to, they get damaged, they don't go to Hawaii.
Maybe. I know. It happened so long after.
I understand. Total conjecture, but sometimes I like to do that.
But for sure, it could have been like a butterfly effect thing. Like, what if the Arizona had towed the Morro Castle? Like, you never know, right? Or it could have gotten caught up on the shoals and been damaged beyond repair and never been in Pearl Harbor.
That would have been ironic, but yeah.
So after the disaster.
So if they finally get it to shore, how do
they get it to shore?
How?
They tow it to shore.
Who? You said the Tampa's rope snapped.
The Tampa.
Tried again?
I think the Tampa tried again.
Okay.
Yeah, my brain's just blanking out on that part. But I think the Tampa tried again. They towed it to shore, and it came ashore right in front of the convention center at Asbury Park, New Jersey. And apparently there was a radio station in the convention center. So the guy's broadcasting the Morro Castle is coming towards us. It's right near us. It was right there.
It's on fire. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so it is the Depression.
Yes.
And it is September. So this is a seaside town in New Jersey.
So not a lot going on.
Not a lot going on because season is over.
I'm sorry,
right?
You said New Jersey.
Asbury Park.
Asbury Park. Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought you said Asheville for some reason. I'm even reading it thinking North Carolina. But no, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, no, Asbury Park. And so season is over.
Yeah.
Everything's closed. But in the first 2 days that this ship is sitting there beached on the shore, still on fire.
Right.
Between 100 and 250,000 people come into Asbury Park to see it.
Wow.
All the shops open back up. People start charging to get onto the boat, which is still hot and on fire in some places.
Who's charging? Who owns it at that point? The
shipping board lines still own it.
Okay.
But random people are like, I'll take you over there for $5.
Oh, okay.
And then they'd get over there and they'd be like, oh, also, I need now another $5 for a gas mask because you can't be over here without a gas mask. And then, oh, I need another $1 for a flashlight. So people were touring the boat.
For $11.
Yeah, there's still bodies on the boat.
Okay.
Okay. And people are coming off the boat and the soles of their shoes are melted because the boat is still on fire. So, after all this,
yep.
Well, I guess during all this, there's rumors that the council, like the city council of Asbury Park, was talking about trying to buy the boat and leave it there as a permanent tourist attraction because it was the Depression and they needed something going on.
Sure, okay.
Ultimately, they chose not to, partially I think because of public pressure, because that's super morbid, but also one of the cargo items was a whole bunch of uncured animal hides, and it started to stink.
Yikes.
So then they wanted it out of there.
Makes sense.
Yeah. In March, finally, it was towed to Brooklyn, where it was put up for sale. It was bought by Union Shipbuilding Company of Baltimore, and then taken to Baltimore and scrapped.
Okay.
Okay? So,
yep.
It does not exist anymore. Some of the crew and the people from the ward line were investigated and charged, but they appealed and they served no jail time. And after the shipwreck, George White Rogers, the radio operator,
right,
his name kept popping up as a hero.
Because he sent out the SOS.
He sent out the SOS. He was supposedly very helpful to the crew and all this stuff. To the point where he was interviewed by newspapers, and then he also had a stint on Broadway.
Oh my gosh.
Where he would...
That's funny. I was going to make a joke that he went on a game show, but apparently...
No, on Broadway.
Huh.
So these productions would pull him in before the show started and let him talk about his experience before the show as kind of an extra draw. Apparently it didn't go super well, so that didn't last very long.
Yeah, I was going to say, before we watch Hello, Dolly, let's hear about a bunch of dead people. Take it away, Georgia. Okay, yep, that's weird.
So, this is where things get weird. If they haven't...
Yeah, I was going to say, this is where they get weird. Okay, cool.
Okay, so we have this shipwreck. It was terrible. Fire started on board. 137 people ultimately died. 134 died that night, and then 3 more died later.
Smoke inhalation or
of
something?
Their injuries,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, in the course of investigating the crew and some of the higher-ups in the ward line, the FBI kind of started to have a hint about George White Rogers, but they never officially investigated him.
It is weird that he wouldn't issue an SOS without a direct order.
Wouldn't issue an SOS without a direct order. And there was radio chatter from other ships about, hey, there's something on fire in the ocean.
Yeah.
And he never even answered back and said, oh, that's us.
Yeah, okay.
And we are having a small fire on board or whatever. Never said a word.
Okay.
Okay. So we don't know much about this guy's childhood. We know his parents died and he lived with his grandma.
Okay.
From the time he was very young, we have reports of him switching schools because he was kicked out of these schools because of stealing. And in one case, he was caught having, shall we say, inappropriate relationships with a young boy.
Oh.
Okay.
We've got to stop doing this on this podcast.
I know, my gosh, we keep having these people. Okay. So then it turns out he forged his radio man's license. Yep. He went into the Navy but was discharged after 4 months. He first said he had the flu and was laid up for a while. And then he said he had an eye injury because a battery exploded and he got acid in his eye. The doctor at the Navy said that is not possible because had it happened the way he said it happened, he would have lost his eye.
Got it.
Okay. So as you go back in time and interview people that knew George White Rogers, everyone kind of said he's a little off. And
okay.
he makes them a little uneasy. And people just don't really like to be around him.
So even though the other George is the one that was going to be fired.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this George is the one we're suspecting. Okay,
mm-hmm.
Yep.
Now, there is also a rumor out there that both of them were going to be fired. Or this George was the one that was going to be fired.
Got it, okay.
Okay, so we go back to that. He's discharged from the Navy after about 4 months. All right, so we're going to call him Rogers from here on out so we don't mix him up with the other George, okay? In 1929, Rogers met William Egert and went to work for him in the radio shop.
Okay.
But things kept disappearing from the radio shop.
Crazy talk.
Weird, right? And Rogers did not get along with the owner's son.
Okay.
Okay, so the business, weirdly enough, burned down, and only 2 people had keys to the shop. One of them was Rogers.
Is the other one the owner?
Other one was the owner's son.
Oh, good. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it was suspected that the shop was burned to cover up a robbery. So then Rogers goes to work at a different radio shop where things also disappeared. The owner was out of town at one point, and George calls him and said that there was a robbery and many, many things were missing from the shop. But police kind of had a suspicion that it was an inside job. And when they started looking around, they found a piece of the missing radio equipment at that Egert shop. I guess they had rebuilt. And Egert said, "Oh, Rogers sold it to me."
Interesting.
Okay. Now, the owner of that shop did not press charges because he was afraid of Rogers, because he said he had a screw loose and didn't want him to retaliate.
Okay.
So this is not looking good. Okay.
Yeah.
So Rogers couldn't hold on to jobs. He would just quit showing up. He stole items. May have even stole items from customers' homes when he went to do that sort of thing.
Interesting.
He may have sent threatening letters like these. There's all these little pieces of circumstantial evidence like in his wake that we don't know for sure, but there's a lot of stealing and fire is what we know.
Okay. Yep.
Now, he goes to work for the ward lines. There's a fire on the ship that may have been a weird chemical fire, was in a place that only a crewman could have started it because it was in a locked locker.
Right.
And it was in a place that, if anybody knew the ship, they would have known it would have spread really quickly.
Okay.
And all of this after the captain died under somewhat mysterious circumstances.
Okay.
Which, by the way, I never told you, they tried to recover the captain's body.
Yeah.
And test it for poison.
But it burned up.
It was badly burned. They had some bones. They're not 100% sure that was even the captain's body. And a lot of poisons would have burned and been undetectable by that point.
Gotcha.
And the doctor that did the initial exam autopsy died in the wreck.
Okay.
And all the notes were burned.
Okay.
So they really don't know
much of anything.
Of anything about this.
Okay.
After the Morro Castle happens, Rogers goes to work for the police in Bayonne, New Jersey.
Good Lord.
I know.
Okay.
There was a guy named Vincent J. Doyle who was kind of cool. He invented two-way radios and installed them in all the police cars. Cool. And they were like one of the first police departments to have those available, and it really helped their response time and everything. But so Doyle didn't love Rogers at first, but eventually they became friends. And so Doyle didn't necessarily report when things tended to go missing.
Got it.
Okay. However, it wasn't too long before Rogers started bragging that he knew how the fire started on the Morro Castle. He started talking about very specific plans and how it was set with a pen bomb. So Rogers starts talking a lot about how the supposed arsonist could have set fire on the Morro Castle.
Yeah, this doesn't end well.
No, and like very specifically. So this is an excerpt from When the Dancing Stopped. It says, Rogers told Doyle that an explosion set the fire on the Morro Castle. The bomb was an incendiary fountain pen filled with acid and combustible powder, the two separated by a thin sheet of copper. The copper served as a timer. The acid would eat through the metal, but it took a while. The thicker the copper, the longer it took for the acid to reach the powder. The pen had been put in the breast pocket of a waiter's jacket, which was then hung in the writing room locker. Rogers said it made the perfect crime. No one had to risk detection while starting the fire, and if the bomb was found, anybody would just think it was a pen. That's why no one was spotted messing around the locker, and the explosive had been put there hours earlier. When it exploded, it ignited the turpentine and paint stored in the locker.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's a fairly specific statement for someone to make about how a supposed...
For a radio man, yeah.
Yeah, fire started on board the ship. Okay?
Yep.
So, Doyle finally confronts Rogers after he keeps talking about this and finally just says, "Why'd you do it?" Like, he didn't ask if you did it. He said, "Why'd you do it?" Initially, Rogers immediately said, "Because the word line stinks and the skipper was lousy." So not exactly a confession, but close. And then he starts to clam up about it.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. So they work at a police station, right?
Yep.
But even though they work at a police station, they are radio guys. And some of the police officers and some of the people in the community, every once in a while, they bring in things for these guys to work on and fix because they know electronics.
Okay.
Okay. So shortly after this whole supposed confession,
right.
Okay, a package shows up at the police station for Doyle. The person that supposedly received the package was Rogers.
Yep.
And Rogers repeatedly told Doyle, "Hey, there's a package for you. You better go get it." And Doyle kept forgetting about it. And finally, Rogers brings it to him.
Okay.
Okay. When he opened it, it turned out to be a homemade, like, fish tank heater. And the note with it said that the person had made this fish tank heater, and basically when you plugged it in, it turned on, and he wanted a switch added to the cord so you could turn it off and on without unplugging it.
Okay.
Was the story. So Rogers was there when he opened it, but Rogers left when he started working on it, and when Doyle plugged it in, it exploded. So the police suspected Rogers almost immediately. The note appeared to have been typed on the police department typewriter.
Oh, jeez.
And parts of the bomb were hidden inside of the room. So the bomb explodes, and then pieces of the bomb get, like, shoved behind the desk or put behind a book on the shelf. So he didn't take the pieces with him, but he hid them.
That's weird.
And he's, like, one of the only people that would have had access to the room to get in there and do that.
Okay.
Okay? Yeah. So, the police followed Doyle to protect him. A Molotov cocktail was thrown through his neighbor's house. One of his friends down the street was supposedly framed for the explosion. And it was just a whole thing.
Yep.
But eventually, Rogers was convicted, and he was put in prison for 20 years.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm. So everything's happy now, right?
No.
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 Okay.
Because you didn't say, history is better through the footnotes. That's how that's
oh, yeah, you know.
Yeah.
If okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so now Rogers is in prison for exploding a bomb at the police station. So we're just adding to this whole arson theory, right?
Yep.
Okay, but he's in prison, and now Pearl Harbor gets attacked. In New Jersey, 350 inmates applied for parole so they could get paroled and basically go out and
serve. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Only 31 of these 350 got picked, and Rogers was one of them.
He certainly seems to have a certain military disposition.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And they were given parole, but the military would only take an unconditional parole, so he was actually upgraded and got clemency granted. Took his radio operator's license test, and he was back at it.
Awesome.
Yeah. After he's discharged from the military, he goes to work for a place called Eastern Manufacturing, which was a defense contractor in New Jersey. He had a thing for one of the young women that was working there and kept trying to, like, date her. And she kind of tried to be polite, you know?
Yeah.
But he was creepy. And she was afraid of him, too. She's like, I didn't want to turn him down because I didn't know what was going to happen. But she actually had a boyfriend already. And George Rogers shows up at her house one night, and the boyfriend is there.
Awesome.
Yeah, and he then, of course, threatens to kill her and her boyfriend. They didn't.
Like you do. It's a good way to get in a girl's heart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They didn't speak for nearly a week, and then he comes up to her and he proposes. And she says no, of course. And just a couple of days after that, she goes home violently ill.
Yeah.
Very sick. But nobody thought anything of it because nearly half of the workers in the plant had come down with the flu, slowing down work so much so that the president of the company visited the plant and was trying to get some information about why everyone was sick. While the president is at the plant, the president of the company, not the president, he goes to try and get some water out of a water cooler, and Rogers randomly goes, "Hey, don't get water out of that cooler, it's poisoned." And the president's like, "Are you nuts? What are you talking about?" He drank it and he was fine. But the next day, the president was back at the company, and Rogers purposely sought him out to ask him how he felt, which kind of freaked the president of the company out. So then he had one of the chemists in the company, and he said, "Go check the water in this cooler, because I just have a weird feeling about it." And the chemist found out that it had potassium thiocyanate in it, which 1 ounce of that can kill a person. Then the FBI, of course, comes to the plant the next day because it's a defense contractor and you can't have people poisoning water coolers at a defense contractor. There was never any official charges, but Rogers was one of only 2 people that had access to the plant after hours.
There's a pattern here.
Right?
Yeah.
There's a pattern here. Yes. Now, he befriends a guy named Bill Hummel, who also is a radio guy, and they bond over radios and such. And Bill Hummel has a daughter named Edith. So Rogers comes up with a scheme to buy old equipment from the military. I think the plan was kind of to buy this old equipment from the military, fix it up a little bit, and sell it for profit.
Got it.
Okay. Now, he borrows ultimately over $7,000 from Bill for equipment. And he'd order some equipment and say it didn't show. And then he'd say, "Oh, I called the contractor and it didn't show because they needed a little more money for shipping." And so Bill would give him a little more money. And then eventually Bill gave him money to hire a lawyer to figure out why all their shipping is not coming to them and all this stuff. Eventually, he's borrowed over $7,000 for equipment that never shows up.
Seems like a problem.
Yeah, it went on for years. Eventually, Bill tells Rogers that, "Hey, we have decided to retire. Me and my daughter Edith, we're going to move to Florida. So, could I get that money back so that we can pay for the move?"
Yeah.
Right? Okay. 2 weeks later, both of them are found dead at their house, beaten to death.
Which doesn't fit his modus operandi at this point.
It doesn't. However.
Okay.
They'd been dead for at least 10 days.
Okay.
Bill had gone to the bank the morning that they think he died and pulled out $2,400 from the bank. Supposedly, Rogers had dropped him off at the bank. When they found Bill's body, the money was gone.
Interesting. And
detectives called electronics shops in the area and found that George had been buying a lot of equipment in the last few days. Most of it with $100 bills, which is what you would get out of the bank.
So Rogers beat Bill to death, loaded his corpse, and now he's buying. Okay.
And then killed his daughter.
Sure, makes sense.
Yeah. Apparently, he also killed his wife's dog.
Wait, he got married?
Yeah, he was married.
Oh boy.
Yeah, this was the whole thing. Yeah.
Okay.
And so. Okay, so anyway. He looks pretty suspicious at this point.
Yeah.
I believe it was Doyle again, because Doyle survived the explosion. He lost part of his hand and was in the hospital for a while. But Doyle gets involved in this point, and I believe they go to Rogers' wife. Yes, he was married.
Yeah.
And Doyle's basically like, I know that you live with this demon, and I know all the things he's done to you, and I know that he killed your dog. Apparently, Rogers poisoned her dog because she went to a funeral that he asked her not to go to.
Okay.
So all this stuff. They arrest him. The first trial is declared a mistrial because 2 of the jurors were sick and 1 had a death in the family.
That seems more like the Rogers we know and love.
Right?
Yeah.
It seems suspicious too.
Yeah.
And the second trial, he was convicted of both murders and sentenced to life in prison. You think we're done?
Close.
Yeah, we are. Okay.
Yeah.
So this time, he passes away in prison. He dies of a heart attack. Weirdly enough, the Deborah Whitcomb lady, she did one of the podcasts and she wrote the book Inferno at Sea. She's tried to do a deep dive on Rogers, and she says that a lot of the records are still sealed, and that even with the Freedom of Information Act, they can't get at the records.
Seriously?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. And the fact that he had all this evidence and always seemed to get off. One of the rumors is that he was a spy and the government's protecting him.
Oh boy.
Yeah. And then another rumor is that the Ward lines actually hired him to start the fire so they could get the insurance money from the boat.
That doesn't make any sense because they were making money on the boat.
They were making money on the boat, and even if they did, he never was reimbursed for anything.
Sure. Did we know?
Yeah. So the whole thing's kind of a mystery. So we have this boat with all these people on it just trying to have a good time. They're caught between 2 giant storms. The captain dies. They have probably literally a psychopath, based on like the actual description of a psychopath. Psychopath for a radio operator. Crazy story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's it, finally.
Finally, yeah. I still think UFOs did it.
Oh.
Me and Georgie Salakis are going to... That's the hill we're going to die on.
In this case, this one case,
yeah.
I don't think it was UFOs. I think it was this psychopath.
I don't know. Fires don't just start themselves.
Yeah, this man, though. Fires, stealing, sexual assault. Like it...
Threat and
psychopath.
Murder.
Yeah. Just psychopathic behavior.
Huh. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. So... I don't know. You think he did it?
I mean, it seems to fit the pattern. Yeah,
it does seem to fit the pattern. I'm pretty convinced he started the fire.
Yep.
I don't know that I'm convinced that he killed the captain.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like he was having trouble. Although, I guess poisoning would look like heart attack brought on by acute indigestion. So
it would. I don't know. And we'll never know that one because they don't even know where the captain's real bones are.
Well, that's David Jones.
Yeah, David Jones has them.
Yep.
All right.
All right.
Well, we will see you next time, and just remember, history gets weird, especially if you read the footnotes.
That's why I don't read the footnotes. See ya.
Bye.